Greetings, YouTube. Recently I did a video about whether or not monks have a place in the standard D&D game. And it sparked a debate about weapons over on the D&D group, specifically, monks, the weapons that monks themselves have. And a number of people were unhappy with the way the monks are given weapons, the type of weapons they can use. It really does kind of channel them into that classic Eastern mode of thought. They're very much martial arts weapons. And I happen to agree, they are. And I was thinking about it, and in my video I talked about the concept of making the three monk weapons, the bludgeoning, slashing, and piercing weapons, more generic. And I thought about it, and that still is really, it's really narrow. It's playing into that same trope. I'm just asking you, instead of making it an Eastern martial arts trope, making it an elven or a dwarven or a human mariner or an orc weaver. You know what I mean? Just changing the trope from one to the other, and I think that isn't really the improvement that the class needs to make it more interesting, to make it more versatile. It's essentially erasing the names from one trope and just writing in another, and that it really isn't an improvement. So I thought I'd back up, listen to some of the things that people had to say, and look at it a little more broadly. So I'm going to propose two different ideas here, one dealing strictly with weapons and one that says completely weaponless. So the first one is about weapons themselves. So completely scrap the monks' weapon selection they currently have under the OGL or in Pathfinder. Just toss that right out. So, henceforth, monks have all simple weapons for proficiencies. And I'm basing this off of the core Pathfinder book. There are other Pathfinder references out there that have other simple weapons, I'm sure. And I'm not taking those into account at the moment. I'm just looking at the core book for those that just have the core book, where the monk is. So they get proficiency in all simple weapons, and with all of the simple weapons that there are, all the melee weapons, they can use their Flurry of Blows ability. Yes, this does mean that they're going to be able to use weapons that do more than a 1d6. Big whoop. It's not a game breaker in my opinion. And in addition, the monk get 3 other weapon proficiency slots. All martial, and they get 1 light weapon, 1 one-handed weapon, and 1 two-handed weapon. So they get 3 weapons proficiencies on top of the category of simple. And with those 3, they cannot use their Flurry of Blows. They are just proficient in them, as anyone else who has a skill in a martial weapon is. Now, if they'd like to take a proficiency in bow, they can, but that replaces the melee two-handed weapon slot. And the reason behind this is that the general training of monks says that they have certain levels of generalized weapon skill, which falls into the category of all simple weapons, as many classes have the all simple weapons category. Interestingly, I just noticed that blowgun is on simple weapons. That's kind of weird. That kind of takes into account that it's a simple design, a tube and a dart. But using a blowgun is not easy. I don't really know if I consider that to be a simple skill. Then again, neither is a sling, but I'm not going to argue that point today. I plan on arguing that point in the future. And then it shows you that different schools of martial arts have different focuses, and that is reflected in the light, one-handed, and two-handed weapons proficiencies. That emphasizes what type of weapons were trained in that particular school that monk belongs to. And there you have some flavor. And I'd be really loose with some of these definitions. For example, if someone says, well, I want to use this weapon, and that weapon can be based off of one of the stats that is in the mechanical stats that are in the category of simple weapons, let them have it. If somebody wants to change the flavor description of an existing simple weapon, let them. As long as they're not trying to seek a mechanical advantage that is beyond the simple category, if they want to change a descriptive text, let them change it. It isn't going to hurt anything. It will get the player involved and give their character a little more flavor. A win-win. Now, we're done with that weapons part. That's my proposal. Now, there are some people, and I think it was Tussock over on the D&D News Group that said that he likes the idea that monks don't use weapons. Flat out. They just don't use weapons. They are pure aesthetic martial artists, that it's all the empty hand. I can understand that. I can buy into that. I think that has some merit. But I think it does put them slightly behind the curve if they never get to use weapons, because weapons is where most of your weapon enhancement ends up falling on. So, I have a proposal! Here's the proposal. At first level, a monk chooses an energy type from one of the 4. Now, in the standard OGL or PF, those are fire, frost, electricity, or acid. I replace acid with sonic, because let's face it, folks, acid is not an energy type. Neither is sonic, really, but it's a whole lot closer to an energy type than acid is. And at first level, they pick one of these. And this is their elemental effect. And when the elemental effect is on, and they can activate it or inactivate it at will, all of their attacks count as that energy damage. And they get a +1 damage per attack. Okay, so a first level monk picks fire. That means every time he turns this ability on, and the ability can only be on when they're conscious, turns this ability on, his hands are sheathed in flames or they glow with heat. You get the point. You can come up with a descriptive text that fits the look you want. And every attack they make, flurry of blows or not, is a +1 damage and counts as fire damage. Alright? At 5th level, they get a second element. Their choice. They cannot pick the same element twice. It has to be another one. At 9th, they get a 3rd. At 13th, they get a 4th. And at 17th, they can choose to have their attacks be considered a force effect. That's the first component. Second component to this idea is that at 5th level, a monk's attack, when they have their energy effect on, active, has a range increment of 10. So now, they can still attack someone who's right next to them, or they can attack someone at a distance, and it does not count as, it's not going to trigger an AOL, attack of opportunity. So AOO, right, sorry. I always get that confused. At 9th level, that goes to 20 feet. At 13th, it goes to 30 feet. And at 17th level, it goes to 40 feet. So now they can do the whole Dragon Ball Z. Whoa! And this only counts for the monk's attacks that are not flurries of blow. So remember, flurry of blows class ability will not work with their ranged attacks. I'm making that explicitly clear. Hope that works. And the third aspect of this is that, 3.5, is that the damage bonus goes up. So the first weapon you got, elemental ability, you picked at first level because +2 at 5th level, +3 at 9th level, +4 at 13th, and +5 at 17th. The second one is one behind that. The third one is one behind that. You get the point. So when you hit 17th, that force effect only has a +1. That's all it's ever going to get. So the 2.5, I should say. So 3 is that whenever you have an elemental effect active, you receive energy resistance equal to your bonus. At 17th level, you would receive a flat damage resistance of 1 against everything. So when you have that energy resistance idea, the force effect up, it just means that you've infused your body with force, and so you now have a DR of just 1 against every attack there is in the universe. So I'm just throwing these ideas out there. I haven't play tested this. I thought of this last night at work. I'm ill, and keep concentrating on this really helped me get through the night because it was not easy. I had to think about something to keep myself focused before I fell asleep at my press. I was not having fun. So I'm throwing this idea out there. I would like people to talk about it and tell me what they think. Ask me questions. Feel free to ask. I'm sure that there are some flaws in my logic. And if there are ideas that you think should be added or if you think I'm crazy, you tell me. Now, I don't think this is going to be a huge boost. At 17th level, it means that you would have a plus 5 damage per attack of that energy type for the one you picked at first level. Is that good? Yes. Does it make up for the fact that you have no weapons proficiencies of any kind? No, I don't know. I think it balances out. I think it's pretty equal. It also means that if you have a race that comes with weapons proficiencies, you don't get those either. You get no weapons proficiencies of any kind, ever. And if you get one, you'll lose all your special abilities. So I think it's pretty balanced. I think it's pretty close. It makes up for the loss of a number of weapons enhancements, and as do a number of the other monk abilities. So I think that it works out to very similar to what you would have at a high-level character with weapons. So I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say.